איפה גבי, אריק וזה, איפה הם?
All right, so Purim is around the corner, and there is something very deep that many people missed, and hopefully because of what we're going to learn today, we will upgrade our understanding of Purim. I call this lecture, What's Hidden Behind the Mask? You know, in Purim we have a few mitzvot that we perform. We have actually 4 major mitzvot in Purim. Of course, the first one is Kriyat HaMegillah. You have to read the Megillah twice, in the nighttime and the daytime. The other mitzvah is Mishloach Manot Ish L'Re'eu, Matanot La'evyonim. We have to take care of the poor also. And Seudat Purim. We have a big Seudah. And there is something very unique in this festive meal. Every Yom Tov we have festive meal, every Shabbat, but in Purim there is something special that we have to, aside from eating, you have to drink. And not soft drinks. And you have to drink so much wine until you will be completely out of your mind. You should be completely drunk. Let me just emphasize this. After you read the Megillah, nighttime and daytime in the morning, the Seudah is close to the end of the day, right? So you read twice the Megillah and the story. We know the story since we were 3-4 years old. But we read it again. And it's a mitzvah to read it again, all the details, listen to every word. So you have complete clarity of what the story of Purim is. So when you eat the Seudat Purim and drink, you should be drunk in a way that if someone will ask you, who's the good guy in the Megillah? If you answer Mordechai, you're not drunk enough. If you say, Arur Haman, Haman is a bad guy, you're not drunk enough. Until you will be completely so drunk that you'll say the good guy is Haman and the bad guy is Mordechai. This is so unusual. You know, God give us seichel, give us ability to think, and it's very responsible to use your mind. The only time in the year that it's a mitzvah to lose your mind is in Purim. And it's very interesting why. So we'll touch this point also, but I want to start from something very, very interesting. Again, I want to do a little upgrade of what we know about Purim. The problem with the story of Purim that we learned it, and we got so excited and impressed by it when we were so young. Many people stuck with the understanding of 3 years old to the entire life. The Megillah is very deep. I'll start from something very interesting. There is a Gemara in Masechet Chulin. Not in Masechet Megillah, in Masechet Chulin. So there is a discussion over there, but there is a part of Agadeta, which is deep part of the Torah connected to the level called Drash or Remez. You know, every pasuk in the Torah and the Tanakh has 4 levels: the Pshat, the Remez, Drash, and Sod. So the Gemara in the Agadeta part in the Talmud is actually mostly connected to the level called Drash, which is the 3rd level, just before the Sod, the secret. And the Midrashim are so not clear. The only way to really understand them is learning the details of the Midrashim that are in the Kabbalah, but in the Medrash, it's like a story, like something that you need to understand what they really mean. So I'm going to Masechet Chulin, Daf Kuf Lametet Amud Bet. And the Gemara discuss some things, and then the Gemara bring the following. The Gemara says that Jews at the time when the Talmud was written were lived in a place in Bavel called Papona. Name of a place, a Jewish place. People were there in exile. So it was Jewish community there, who are scholars over there. So the eldest, the scholars of Papona, ask one of the Amoraim Talmud, one of the big scholars of the Talmud, by the name Rav Matna. They ask him a series of questions. I'll bring here 3 of the questions that they asked him. And again, it's in Masechet Chulin, page 139. Amre le Paponai le Rav Matna. They ask him the questions, and 3 of the questions, there are a series of questions, 3 of the questions relate to Megillat Esther. And they asked very unusual question, and the answer was even more weird. Let's see. So they ask him the following. Haman min Torah menayin. Haman, from the Megillah, Haman, the person Haman, where he is hinted in the Torah. So the question is funny because the Torah is Chamisha Chumshei Torah. Chamisha Chumshei Torah was written way before Haman was born. But the assumption is that Leika Midi de lo remiza beoraita, there is nothing that's not have source, hint in the Torah. So they asked him this question. We want to know in the level of hint, Pshat, Remez, Drash Vesot, they're going to Roved Remez, to the level of Remez, where Haman is hinted in the Torah. The other question that they asked him, Esther min Torah menayim. So they want also where Esther hinted in the Torah. And Mordechai. Where Mordechai hinted in the Torah. So those are the questions. Let me give you the answer that he gave him. Amre la Paponai le Rav Matna, Haman min Torah menayim. So he told them, it's hinted in the Torah, in Sefer Bereshit, in the story of Chet Adam HaRishon. After Adam HaRishon ate from Etz Hadat Tov Hara, when Hashem told him, don't eat from it, Hashem approached him and asked him, ויאמר אליו, מי הגיד לך כי ערום אתה? המין העץ אשר ציוויתיך לבלתי אכול ממנו אכלת? So, the question was, המין העץ. The letters of Hamin, Hey, Mem, Nun in the Torah are the letters of Haman. So this is the place where Haman hinted in the Torah. I hope we'll have time to cover it. It's very, very deep. I just want to say something now. That this tree, Etz Hadat Tov Hara, is the tree that Haman at the end was hanged on it. Of course, it needs explanation. I hope to get this. Okay. About the second question, Esther min Torah menayin, where is Esther hinted in the Torah? Here, he answered, it's in not Sefer Bereshit, in Sefer Dvarim, in Parashat Vayelech, right before Moshe Rabbeinu passed away. So Moshe Rabbeinu talked to the Jewish nation, and he says, I were with you in the last 40 years. You were very challenging. You made a lot of problems. You are kshe oref. And I'm really scared that after I pass away, you will continue with this path and you will not do what you obligated to do when you signed the Naaseh v'Nishma in Ma'amad Har Sinai. And I have to tell you, Moshe Rabbeinu said, that many problems, many troubles will come in your path in the history. Umtsa'uhu ra'ot rabot v'tzarot. Because you didn't listen. You sign a contract with God, it's very serious. If you will not do what you're supposed to do, you're going to suffer a lot. And he said in the name of Hashem, Ve'anochi haster astir panai bayom hahu. When you will undergo those troubles, I will hide my face. Hashem said, I will just hide myself. You will be in problem, you could not find me because I will be hidden. That's what he said. Ve'anochi haster astir panai bayom hahu. Here is the hint for Esther. Again, apparently it's because of the word Anochi haster astir. Astir, Esther, like Hamin ha'etz. So, what actually the question and the answer? Just to find words or letters that... But, okay. Now, when it's come to Mordechai, it's even more complicated. Mordechai min haTorah menayin. So here he goes to a pasuk in Sefer Shmot, in Parashat Bniyat HaMishkan, when Hashem commanded us to do the Mishkan. And in the Mishkan, there are few things that we have to do. Actually, those are the parashiyot that we read now, Parashat Tetzaveh. This particular pasuk is in next parasha, in Parashat Kitisa. After you do all the component of the Mishkan, you have to do something called Shemen HaMishcha. Shemen HaMishcha, and then Ktoret HaSamim. In each one of them, there are very specific ingredients that Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu. Kach lecha samim, nataf, shchelet v'chelbena, according to the Ktoret HaSamim, and then Shemen HaMishcha also. So, about Shemen HaMishcha it says, ואתה קח לך בסמים ראש, מור דרור 500. Mor is the name of spice. It's called Mor Dror. So Mordechai is there in Mor Dror. In Mor Dror. How? And here the Gemara said, go to the Targum. Go to Targum Onkelos. How Onkelos translated to Aramaic? Mor Dror. So look at Onkelos. Onkelos said Mor Meira. So the name of the spice is Mor in Hebrew. In Aramaic is Meira. What's Dror? Dror, the Targum translate Dachia. Dachia is something that are very thin. קודשים אותו עד שהוא דח. Okay? Meira Dachia. So Meira Dachia is Mordechai. Not in the pasuk, in the Targum of it, in the translation. Okay, that's it. The Gemara didn't explain any more further about this. What was the question? What was the answer? Okay, so let's start from Haman. Haman מן התורה מנין, שנאמר המין העץ. In brief, few major pieces of information from the Kabbalah. Haman came from a nation called Amalek. His father's name was Hamedata, but he was descendants of Agag. Agag was a king of Amalek at the time of Shaul HaMelech, years before. So he is Amaleki. He is from the nation called Amalek. In the Kabbalah it mentioned that every nation in the world has an angel that is the spiritual representative of the nation in front of God in the Supreme Court, upstairs. The nation, or the angel, the spiritual representative of Amalek and Esav and Edom is the Sitra Achra itself. Sitra Achra is the negative power, spiritual power that Hashem created in order to let human being have bechira between positive and negative. So this is the negative, and he is the representative of Amalek. Also mentioned in Kabbalah books that the story of Chet Adam HaRishon connected to this too, because when the Nachash came to Chava and Adam and convinced them to not listen to God, so it says in the Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer, and it's with much more details in the Kabbalah, that it was Nachash verochvo. So it was a technical, physical, something like snake. It's not exactly. It's more like a dinosaur, because he has feet before. And then his punishment was al gechoncha telech, meaning before that he looked like a dinosaur. But the Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer says it's not the physical animal, but the rider of it. And the rider, the spiritual rider, which is the Sitra Achra itself. So we find out that the power, spiritual power that caused Adam HaRishon to do the first sin in the history, and because of that, he got the punishment of being mortal. כי ביום אכולך ממנו מות תמות. Hashem warned Adam HaRishon before. The meaning of that in the Pshat, says the Ramban, כי ביום אכולך ממנו מות תמות, ביום שתאכל תהיה בר מוות. You're not going to die in the same day, but you're going to become mortal. Meaning, connecting to this tree that Hashem said, don't eat from it, Etz Hadat Tovara, you will get with this the death penalty. Now Haman is a person, come from the nation, that the spiritual power behind it is the Sitra Achra itself. And again, what did he bring? Death. להשמיד, להרוג ולאבד את כל היהודים. So where Haman is hinted in the Torah, in this tree, המין העץ אשר ציוויתיך לבלתי אכול ממנו אכלת. זאת המן. אסתר מן התורה מנין, שנאמר ואנוכי הסתר אסתיר פניי. And this is terrible. We're talking about very, very hard, rough promise that if the Jews will be stubborn, will not do whatever they're supposed to do, הומצאו רעות רבות וצרות. Many troubles, not just in numbers, but in the quality. And they will reach a point that they will be so far from Hashem that they will suffer, and when they will turn to Hashem, Hashem will hide himself from them. That's what's written there. ואנוכי אסתר אסתיר פניי. So Esther is there. ואנוכי אסתר אסתיר פניי. So probably the great problem, the amazing, terrible problem that the Jewish nation ever suffered, you have to know that. People do not know this, is the decree of Haman. The decree of Haman is worse than Baruch Hashem. Hashem saved us at the end, and we'll talk about this. But the decree of Haman was the worst that any anti-Semite ever did to us, including Hitler. I always mention this. Hitler looked like the most anti-Semite. The Nazism, the Nazim, Yimach Shemam v'Zichram, they killed 1/3 of the Jewish nation. But the decree of Haman was much worse. First of all, they stopped after 1/3. It took them 6 years. The decree of Haman was in one day. להשמיד, להרוג ולאבד את כל היהודים ביום אחד. טף ונשים. No one will be survived. No one. And he got the permission from the United Nations at the time. The Gemara says that what happened in the Megillah is greater, and I'm talking about the positive thing, is greater than the entire Nevi'im in the Tanakh. Because all the prophets were sent to make the Jews going back to the right way. They failed. They failed all the Nevi'im. They came, they said, they spoke, no one listened. 48 Nevi'im and 7 Nevi'ot. No one listened to them. So said the Gemara in Masechet Megillah, Gdola hasarat tabat. When Achashverosh took his ring and gave it to Haman, and said, do with them whatever you want. It was greater, the impact of it was, גדולה הייתה הסרת טבעת יותר מ-48 נביאים ו7 נביאות שעמדו להם לישראל. שכולם לא החזירום למוטב. All the נביאים try hard but failed to get the Jews back to the right path. והסרת הטבעת, and הסרת הטבעת did it. לך כנוס את כל היהודים וצומו עליי ואל תאכלו ואל תשתו. They become בעלי תשובה completely from the הסרת הטבעת, more than all the Nevi'im, Yeshayahu, Yirmiyahu, Yechazkel, Maaseh Merkava, nothing works. This works. So it was a miracle. Without this miracle, Chas v'shalom, the entire Jewish nation was wiped out. No one were left. So that was a real tzara. הומצאו רעות רבות וצרות. It referred to this. This is the biggest terrible thing that we ever went through. And it says, ואנוכי אסתר אסתיר פניי. Now again, let's go deeper. Let's try to understand it. Megillat Esther, called like this, Megillat Esther. If you analyze the words, Esther is hidden. I'll explain this in few moments. Megillah is a gilui. Megillat Esther is to reveal the hidden. To reveal the hidden. Now, let's go to Esther. The Megillah, we call the Megillah Megillat Esther. But the Megillah mentioned that Esther has another name. It mentioned only once in the entire Megillah. And it says that when it was a decree of the king that all the ladies will come because he wants to find a new Malka, a new queen after he killed Vashti. So it says like this. איש יהודי היה בשושן הבירה, ושמו מרדכי בן יאיר בן שמעי בן קיש איש ימיני, אשר רגליים הגולה, אשר רגלתיים יחוניה מלך יהודה, and then it's written the following. ויהי אומן את הדסה, היא אסתר בת דודו. This is the only place in the entire Megillah that we expose to this name, Hadassah. ויהי אומן את הדסה. From now on, she called only Esther. So the Gemara in Masechet Megillah asks, ויהי אומן את הדסה, דף י"ג עמוד א'. קרעי לה הדסה וקרעי לה אסתר. So what's her real name? אומנת הדסה היא אסתר. So her name is Hadassah or her name is Esther. And what's the meaning of this? So the Gemara brings a few answers. I'll quote the Tana Rabbi Yehuda. Tanya, Rabbi Yehuda אומר, Hadassah Shma. Her real name was Hadassah. ולמה נקרא שמה אסתר? על שם שהייתה מסתרת דבריה. שנאמר, אין אסתר מגדת את עמה. So why? Her real name is Hadassah. But the name Esther were given to her because during the Megillah, she hid her name, Hadassah, and she presented herself as Esther. We find out, if you analyze it, that it was a whole strategy of Mordechai. Mordechai told her. The Megillah says, over there in the continuation, לא הגידה אסתר את עמה ואת מולדתה, כי מרדכי ציווה עליה אשר לא תגיד. So when she was taken, already then, Mordechai thought about strategy that works at the end. That was the entire miracle because of this strategy. Don't say who you are. Don't say from what nation are you, and don't say your real name. And that's what the Gemara says. למה נקרא שמה אסתר? שהייתה מסתרת דבריה. She was a mystery lady. She was a mystery. The entire strategy was the hidden, and it works. Because in the right moment, she revealed who she was, and that made the miracle. After she said that, Haman was hanged. So, but you have to know, it took a long time. You know, when you read the Megillah, depends what shul you're going, sometimes it looks like the entire event happened in 20 minutes. Or half an hour, if you have a really slowly Baal Koreh. You have to know that the entire story of the Megillah described 9 years. From the 3rd years of Achashverosh, בשנת שלוש למלכו, he made the Mishteh, the party that in it he killed Vashti. And the decree was בשנת 12 למלכו. So from year 3 to the year 12, we have 9 years. In the 3rd year, he killed Vashti. Then he looks for a new queen. He finds her only בשנת 7 למלכו, meaning 4 years he was in Shidduchim. Then he finds Esther, and he decided that she is the queen. And this is amazing by itself. Think about it, it's crazy. Many ladies from all 127 states come to Shushan, right? They're not going straight to the king. First of all, they came to a Bet Anashim. I assume that they have to fill an application What's your name? Who's your family from? You know, for sure it will be. Esther came. She got an application. She left it empty, and it passed. No one asked questions. Then she has to go to a beauty salon for a year. 6 חודשים בשמן המור, 6 חודשים בבשמים. They waste a lot of money, invest a lot of money in their cosmetic over there, right? So for sure they need some implication, who get what, fast. Then she came to the king. I guess the king will ask her, what's your name? Okay, so maybe she said Esther. Then the king decided to marry her, right? So it was an engagement party. I assume every person will want to know the family of the Kala, right? Engagement party. The parents of the Kala didn't show up. It doesn't bother them. Then it was a wedding. No parents. No one asked any questions. Could you imagine? You thought about this? It's crazy. She passed all the steps and she got married to the king. The king do not know from what nation she is. And they were married for 5 years. Because only after 12 years, she said, by the way, I'm Jewish. So until now, they were married for 5 years. He doesn't know who she is. As I said in the beginning, in Purim, we have mitzvot, because it was a great, amazing miracle. We have mitzvot. We have to read the Megillah. This is the Prosum Nisa and the Hallel together. We have to do Sudat Purim. We have to do Mashlach Manot Yitzlareim, Matanot Le'Verim. But there is another thing that's not mentioned in the Megillah. It's not even mentioned in the Poiskim. But everyone do it. Dressing up. It's not a mitzvah, but it's all the communities of the Jews all over the world during the history dressed up. So apparently what's dressing up is, because it's a nice day, we have good time, it's funny. It's much, much deeper than this. Minhag Israel Dinhu, and there is a reason for this, and this is the name of my lecture. What's lie behind the mosque? The entire minhag of dressing up is to do the strategy of Mordechai. What was the strategy? Hide yourself. And that's exactly what you do when you're dressing up. If you dress up really good, you put on yourself something that no one will know who really is behind it. And that was Esther. Now look how it works. The entire strategy was to trick the enemy. Don't say that you're Jewish. As I mentioned, it was many steps on the way that it could be revealed, and it didn't. It didn't. And then at the right moment, let's see how sophisticated was the strategy. Let me jump to, it's much longer than I could just now could talk about. We have, I guess, another 15 minutes, so let's try to squeeze it. In brief, the entire Megillah started with something completely insane. King Ahasuerus, after he finished 2 years of being a king, Bishnat Shalosh Melcho, meaning in the beginning of the 3rd year, he did a party. Again, if you think about this party, this is crazy, completely crazy. The first party, there were 2 parties over there. The first party was for the administration. Remember, he was a king, emperor. He is ruling 127 states or countries. Those countries were under his rule. So he sent representatives that will represent him to rule this place and this place and this place, 127. He called all those people that works in the administration of Ahasuerus, come back to Shushan. Take the first flight tomorrow, first class, I'm paying it, come. For how long? 180 days. 180 days, it's half a year. Come to Shushan. On the house, you're going to party for half a year. What? Who's going to rule the places? What's the idea of this? It's completely insane. And what wasn't this? It described. It was so much food and so much drink. Kirtzon ish vaish. Be'aroto, et osher kvod malchuto, show off. Everything is gold. He put people on chair of gold. Crazy. Why? What's the reason for this? It completely doesn't make any sense. After half a year, he sent them back. But he didn't finish the weekly parties. He made another party for 7 days for the residents of Shushan. לכל העם הנמצאים בשושן. Jews and non-Jews, many Jews were there in Shushan, but many non-Jews. All of them, again, 1 week of party on the house. Kirtzon ish vaish, whatever you want. At the 7th day of this party, you know, how much you could eat and drink. So probably it was, entertainment. So the entertainment was to choose the Queen of Beauty. At the 7 days, after they chose the top 7, top 5, the king said, wait a second. You didn't see the most beautiful lady in the world. This is my wife. I want to share it to you. So he called her. She refused to come. Not because she was tznuah. She was not a Bes Yaakov girl. It was a problem over there. She has some... She didn't feel to come. She said no. He got mad. So he advised what to do with her. The end was she refused. You could not let it go. Kill her. He killed her. Who gave him the advice to kill her? So the Megillah mentioned 7 ministers according to their hierarchy. Number 7 was Memuchan. Says the Gemara, Memuchan is Haman. He was number 7. He said, we could not let it go. You know what's going to happen? All the wives of the ministers, Sarot, Paras Umada, Yuchdai, Bizayon, Vaketzef, Yavzud, Baalem, they will not listen to their husband when he talks about himself. He has a problem with his wife, Zeresh. So we have to do something very clear. So they did. He caused Achashverosh to kill Vashti. And here it started. Everything was planned. Again, there are much more details that I could not go because it's mentioned in the Midrash and I could not go to them because the short of the time. Anyway, he was the one who called Vashti. What happened instead? Achashverosh looked for another queen, right? Because of the advice that he gave him in the third year of his kingdom, in the 7th year, Esther took the place of Vashti. Who caused it? Haman. Haman, without knowing, brought Esther, his killer, to be the queen. He did it. Without knowing. Now no one's knowing. Haman do not know, Achashverosh do not know, but Mordechai know. So he told her, don't say that you're Jewish. And she got married to the king do not know that she's Jewish. Another small story that Mordechai saved the life of the king by revealing the conspiracy of Bigtan Vateresh, and it's what's written, Bedivrei Hayamim, that the king owed his life to a Jew by the name Mordechai. Of course, The king do not know that there is any connection between his queen, his wife, to this Mordechai, but it's written. אחר הדברים האלה, the third chapter of Megillat Esther. After all the things were set up, now the real story could start. אחר הדברים האלה גידל המלך אחשוורוש את המן. What do you mean גידל את המן? He was number 7. So he put it number 1. He put it the head of the ministers. ראש השרים. Because it was unnatural, because number 7 could go first to 6, to 5, he pushed him to number 1. Because of that, he gave this order, it was executive order, that everyone should bow down to Haman. This is also unusual, crazy. No king in the world will let anyone to bow down to someone else but the king. But because you want to make it official, because he just put him number 1 without going all the steps. So it was important to the king that everyone will know that Haman is number 2 in the kingdom, number 1 in the ministers. So everyone was bowing down to Haman. But again, something that I just pay attention now. I mean, you read the Megillah since you're a kid. But be aware of this. If you take the time, the schedule, the timeline, as I said, the Megillah says that in his 7th year, he married Esther. When this story about pushing Haman to be number 1 of the ministers happened? When? In the 12 years. I'll prove it. Because, I mean, the 3rd chapter, just jump from Shnat Sheva, from the 7th year to Shnat 12. Because he made him a minister. In order to make everyone understand that it's serious, he gave an order that everyone will bow down to him. Mordechai was in Sha'ar HaMelech and he didn't bow down. The servants told Mordechai, listen, this is the executive order. Why you're not doing this? So he told them, I'm Jewish. I could not bow down to anyone but to God. Of course not to Haman. How long did it take until Haman realized? ויהי באומרם אליו יום ויום ולא שמע עליהם. יום ויום, let's say 2 days. יום ויום. So in the 3rd day, 4th day, 5th day, Haman realized. And then he got mad. And then ויבז בעיניו לשלוח יד במרדכי לבדו, כי הגידו לו את מרדכי. He knew that even if he will kill him, he will not solve the problem because the principle is the Jewish principle. No Jew in the world will bow down to him. So therefore, he has to kill the entire Jewish nation. So all of this took few days. Then he decided to kill them. So he made the lottery, he pilpul, he went to the king, got the permission, the king gave him the ring, easily. When all of this happened? In Chodesh Nisan, few days before Pesach. The Megillah says, ביום 13 לחודש ניסן, the 13th day of Nisan, he made the lottery and he got the permission from the king. In the same day, מרדכי יצא בשער העיר, ומרדכי ידע את כל אשר נעשה, ויזעק זעקה גדולה ומרה. In the same day, in the 13th day of Nisan, Esther realized there's something wrong, check out what's going on. He told her what's going on, and he told her, you have to go to the king. The king do not know that you're Jewish. But now, after he gave the permission to Haman, if you tell him that you're Jewish, it might save the Jews. So she told him, I can't go, 30 days I didn't call, if I come, it's a death penalty unless, so he told her, you have to go anyways. She said, okay, I'll do it. But we have to do ishtadlut. We have to do what we could do. So it's not up to the king. There is a decree upstairs in a real court. So in order to fix it, it's not enough that I will go and ask the king. We have to do something deeper. So go, gather the Jews, צומו עליי ואל תאכלו ואל תשתו 3 ימים לילה ויום. 3 days in a row, night and day, 3 days. Fast. It's much worse than Yom Kippur. 3 days in a row. And I also will fast. That was in Yud Gimel Balayla. Yud Gimel. All of this happened in the Yud Gimel of Nisan. So the 3 days of the fast started Yud Dalet, from the night and the day of Yud Dalet. The second day was the night and the day of Tetvav. And the third was Tet Zayin. Now, everyone was fasting for 3 days and 3 nights. But Esther, it says, Vayi bayom hashlishi, in the daytime, meaning she fasted 2.5 days, meaning night and day of Yudalet, night of day of Tetvav, night of Tet Zayin, and then Tet Zayin in the morning she went to the king. She went to the king. The king knows that she knows that it's a death penalty, but he was so curious. So he gave her the Sharvit HaZahav, and he's so curious. What makes you do that? Tell me what's going on. And she answered very funny answer. Oh, I want you to come to a party. What? For a party? It's not my birthday, it's not your birthday, it's not our anniversary. Why a party? But you know what? I'm a party guy. If that's what you want, fine, no problem. Tonight a party. But then she added something that made him even more curious. You know what? If you do not mind, there is a very important person in this kingdom. You appreciated him. You give him to be the prime minister, right? Haman? Let him also come to the party. So it will be me, you, and Haman. And, okay, if that's what you want, we'll do it. But he was curious. What make her life under threat just for a party? And what Haman connected to this? But she wanted, fine. So Tet Zayin, which was the second Seder night, they made a party. No, it was Motzei Yom Tov. Motzei Yom Tov sheni shel Pesach. They made a party. In the party, he asked her, okay, could you tell me what's the story? What's this party about? So she said something that made him even more curious. If you don't mind, I have another question, a request from you. Tomorrow night, we'll do another party. And then I'll tell you. But tomorrow night in the party, I want also Haman to come also. So they finished the first party. Everyone went home. Haman went out from the palace, so Mordechai not bowing down to him, got crazy mad, come home. His wife saw him with a Tisha B'Av face. She said, what's going on? Why are you so sad? He said, I'm so important. I'm the most important person for the king. Even for his personal party with the queen, he could not invited me. And all of this is worth nothing to me. Because when I see Mordechai, even though I got the decree, by the way, the Goral was made in 13 of Nisan, but it's fall on 11 months ahead. In Yud Gimel Be'adar, 11 months from now. So, the entire Jewish nation is a walking dead people. They're dead. There's no way to reverse it, including Mordechai. But I'm still mad. I cannot stand it. So she offered him, you know what? Okay. The king loves you so much. You do whatever you want. Make a tree and let him be hanged tomorrow. Tomorrow morning in the morning, first thing in the morning, you go to the king, ask him to hang Mordechai, for sure he will let you. So then during the night, when he came home, it was late at night. You know, he was a prime minister. He was the second important to the king. He has many, many slaves, many servants. But it was after 9. So all the servants went home already. And he was so urged to do the tree, he made it himself. He himself, the prime minister, during the night, the entire night, worked to take the longest tree. It was crazy long. 50 amma, you know what 50 amma? 50 amma is 25 meter. Amma is half a meter. It's long. It's something like, 5 stores building, wood. He himself took the wood, the tree, put it, make sure that it shines from all over the city. That's what he did the entire night. In the palace, the king could not sleep. Balayla una de Dashnot HaMelech. What's going on over here? And he started thinking, who is this mystery lady? My wife. I do not know from even where's her family from. And what is the story that she came to me now, asked for a party, invited Haman? What's the connection? If it's something personal between me and her, what's Haman connected to it? And why tomorrow night? And why she didn't want to say it now? That all was part of the strategy. He could not sleep. So he brought the books of Divrei Yamim. And he found out that he owed his life to someone because a few years ago, 2 of her servants wanted to assassinate him. And he asked around, did this guy, Mordechai, get any reward for this? They said no. He said, uh-oh. Probably also now something going on between Haman and Esther. And no one telling me because I'm not rewarding people who saved my life. So no one wants to report anything. So he became even more anxious and curious and angry. Haman finished early in the morning before dawn, before sunrise. He came to the king before the hours of work in his office. The king didn't sleep all night. So he heard the steps of Haman. He said, Mi bechatzer, vayomru Haman. Haman. He just finished yesterday, very late, the party, and now, early in the morning, he's here. Again, all the questions make him so angry and so anxious. So when Haman came in, before he started, he opened his mouth, because he came in order to get permission to hang Mordechai. Before he was able to open his mouth, the king told him, listen, I'm so glad that you're here. You know why? Because you probably understand in ceremonies and things. Tell me, I have a person in the kingdom that I owe him a lot. I really appreciate him. And I want to give him a reward that no one ever get before. So, because you are so smart and so with it, tell me, what do you think should be the most amazing reward that ever any king give to anyone that he really like? Asher HaMelech Hafetz B'Yikaro. Be aware, this is the most dramatic moment in the entire Megillah. Haman was sure 100%, not 1% less, 100%. למי יחפוץ המלך לעשות יקר יותר ממני? Look what he did to me. He made me the prime minister. He asked everyone to bow down to me. He invited me twice to an intimate party between him and his wife. He could not without me. He could not do anything without me. And during the night he could not sleep because he could not think. He thought, what else I could do? למי יחפוץ המלך לעשות יקר יותר ממני? For sure he's talking about me. And then he revealed his heart. And that made the king even more suspicious. Because the king knew that Haman think that it's talking about him. איש אשר המלך חפץ בעיקרו יביאו סוס אשר רכב עליו המלך. No one ever will ride the horse of the king. It's like sitting on the throne. ולבוש מלכות. The clothes of the king. And the Keter Malchut. The Keter also. So the king realized that he wants to be the king. Probably have some plan with Esther, because what else could bring them? Why she invited him yesterday and now? Until this moment, Haman thought that his luck is amazing. He is the most fortunate person in the world. Ve'ish misarei melech hachashuvim, one of the important, the ministers, not a regular slave, will go and put this person on the horse, and in the entire day will walk with him and called very loud. This minister, not the servants, this minister, the important minister, will say, "Kacha yaseh la'ish asher hamelech hafetz biko." Then it happened. The king told him, "I accept everything that you asked." You know who's the man? When you go out of the palace, over there in the corner, there is one person. His name is Mordechai. Everything that you just said, go do to him. Now, could you imagine what happened to Haman at this moment? It's probably unimaginable. You cannot even think about it. No one ever, the more high you went, the more, he came to get a permission to hang Mordechai, and now he has to go do this kvod melachim to Mordechai. Go do it. And Haman knew, this king is crazy. He killed his wife. So you be careful not to argue. So he went. He went and he did it, and here started the end. That was the beginning of the fall. He finished the entire day. He came home. Avel v'chafui rosh. So Zeresh asked him, "What's going on? Mordechai probably from the morning is hanging over there on the tree, right?" She said, "Not really. Let me tell you what happened." So she told him, "If you start to fall, it's finished." She didn't even calm him down with these nice words that he really needs to hear. And the servants of the king say, "There is a party." So he said, "You know what? It was a not too good day, but at least at the end of it will be a party. Fine." So quickly he went to the party, and he thought, he didn't know that he is going to his death. He went to the party. They served the first course. Then the king asked Esther, "Could you tell me what's going on over here? What was the reason of the party yesterday, the party now? What's going on?" So she told him. She told him. He got mad. Haman araze. He went out to have some fresh air. When he came in, he found Haman lying down on the bed when Esther was. So he told him, "Hagam lichbosh et hamalka imi babayit." All his suspicions come together. And then at the right moment, Eliyahu Hanavi came, dressed up as Charvona. And he said, "You see the tree? This tree probably could be shown from the window. This tree is the tree that he made for Mordechai, that you just felt that you have to give him this honor." ויאמר המלך תלו עליו ויתלו את המנה. So if you look about the entire Megillah, you could see the strategy. The strategy was trick the enemy. Let him believe to the last moment that he is so great and so successful. And in the right moment, say the truth. And then what is going to happen? When he came, Haman, at that morning, to ask permission to hang Mordechai, it says in the Megillah that he came to say, to ask the king. I'll quote the pasuk in the Megillah. ויאמר המלך מי בחצר, והמן בא לחצר בית המלך החיצונה לאמור למלך לתלות את מרדכי על העץ אשר הכין לו. העץ אשר הכין לו, מי הכין למי? Haman made the tree for himself. על העץ אשר הכין לו, to himself. And this is the story. The story is I'll add just a little bit more of information and we'll conclude with this, even though there is so much to say. There is something very interesting that the Rambam brings להלכה. There are a few midrashim about this, but there is a Talmud Yerushalmi, and the Rambam brings להלכה what the Talmud Yerushalmi said. I'll quote the Rambam. The Rambam is in Ilchot Megillah Perek Bet. It says the following: כל ספרי הנביאים וכל הכתובים עתידים להיבטל לימות המשיח. חוץ ממגילת אסתר. This is the quote from the Rambam that quote the Yerushalmi. And there are a lot of confusion with this. Let me explain. The Rambam says, כל ספרי הנביאים וכל הכתובים. In the Tanakh we have Torah, Nevi'im, Ketuvim. So here clearly it speaks about the Nevi'im and Ketuvim. עתידים להיבטל לימות המשיח. חוץ ממגילת אסתר. מגילת אסתר is in the Ketuvim. This gonna be relevant even at the ימות המשיח. So the Rambam continue. חוץ ממגילת אסתר, הרי קיימת כ5 חומשי תורה, וכהלכות של תורה שבעל פה שאינן בטלים לעולם. The 5 books of Moses, 5 חומשי תורה, and the explanation of which is the Torah שבעל פה, that will never be irrelevant. It will be relevant forever. ואף על פי שכל זיכרון הצרות ייבטל. So what is the meaning that the Nevi'im הכתובים will be batel? Will be not relevant. What's the Nevi'im and the Ketuvim? The entire Nevi'im and Ketuvim described what happened after the Jews crossed the Jordan River and went to the land of Israel. Hashem give us the land in order to fulfill the mitzvah. If we will not fulfill the mitzvah, Hashem says, few places in the Torah, that we are not going to stay there. We're going to go to exile. And actually, the entire thing that the Nevi'im and Ketuvim added to the Torah is 4 days in the Jewish calendars. What are they? 10 בטבת, י"ז בתמוז, 9 באב, וצום גדליה. Those never celebrate or mentioned by Moshe Rabbeinu. Right? Moshe Rabbeinu gave us, in the Torah, we have Pesach, we have Sukkot, we have Shavuot, we have Rosh Hashanah, we have Yom Kippurim. But all these 4 events are because we sinned, and therefore the first Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, and because of that, we added to our Jewish calendar these 4 not too happy days. This gonna be irrelevant when the ultimate Geula will come at the end of days. It's not real. Now, Esther is also an event that came later. And in Esther also we have a Tanit Esther, which is also a fast day, right? Not because of the Churban, but because the decree of Haman. This will be relevant at the end of days. What is the meaning of this? And the Rambam bring a pasuk, which the Gemara bring it. ימי הפורים לא יבטלו שנאמר, וימי הפורים האלה לא יעברו מתוך היהודים וזכרם לא יסוף מזרם. Forever, even at the time of Mashiach, of the ultimate Geula. In brief, the halacha said that when you're obligated to hear the Megillah, but you have to know that you're not allowed to talk from the beginning to the end. Don't make stops. If you make stops, you miss one word, you have to reread the Megillah. You're not Yotzei Yedei Chova. Why? Because if you take the Megillah, each one of the events by itself could happen. Could be crazy king that made parties. Could be that he killed his wife. We could hear it in the newspapers today. It happened. Crazy guy killed his wife when they got him mad. Each one of the event by itself could happen. The entire story is that if you look at the entire 9 years, you could see that in 9 years, all those events fall exactly in their place, and even if one of them were not, you could not have the story of the Megillah. So what do you see? You see the Gilui HaEsther. This is the Megillat Esther, the Gilui Shel Esther. Meaning Hashem is hidden, but there is a supervision. Hashem supervises the world, the universe, but especially the Jewish people. And this is the biggest Simcha of Purim. The big Simcha of Purim that we know that even when we do not deserve it, even when we're in the worst point of our relationship with God, God is watching us. If you know that, you should be very happy. Very happy. Because you have an insurance. You have an insurance nation-wise that this nation will never could be destroyed. And the worst situation, the worst risk was at the time in Haman, and even then Hashem saved us. This is the Megillat Esther. The strategy is to hide. Now there is, again, so much that I could add to it, but for now, it's enough. I mean, we're limited by time. And I hope with the thing that we learned today, we really will upgrade our understanding of Purim. Okay, so I wish everyone a Purim Sameach, a meaningful Purim, and thank you very much for coming.
אם זה ככה...